welcome to Skewed and Reviewed. This is our latest Skewedcast for the day, for the week, I should say. And I am Gareth, creator of Skewed and Reviewed. You can catch us online at sknr.net. We also have Skewed and Reviewed, the magazine. We're currently putting the final touches on the latest issue, and we should have that off to the publishers later tonight or early tomorrow morning. Doom Eternal is going to be our cover story. And, of course, you can catch us on BJ Shea's Geek Nation on KISW-FM. Just simply look on our page every Friday for our recaps. And the final thing is PenalCentral.com, the 8 newspapers that make up that network. Just look up keyword Skewed, and you can see our gaming news and reviews. So we cover news, we cover pop culture, hardware, tech, gaming, and so much more. We've got a really good show. I'm joined, as always, with Justin and Michael, and we're going to recap Cinemacon, where Michael was on hand, and he'll be telling us about the footage he saw for the brand new Terminator Dark Fate film, as well as Toy Story 4 and several other films. We'll talk about the Disney-Fox merger and how it was addressed at Cinemacon, and much more. And, of course, we've got a look at Star Wars Celebration and some gaming news. Wanted to start off with this product real quick. This arrived the other day, and this is really interesting. This is from Sence, and this is a Wi-Fi leak detector. Now, for those of you who are contractors or those of you who are do-it-yourselfers, this product lets you monitor and search for leaks and such from your home using Wi-Fi technology over your smartphone. So basically, as anyone knows, water leaks and freezing damage can be a real problem to the house. So you have multi-sensor detection, you have customizable alert setup, instant alarms, and variation, long battery life. And it's simply put, you can receive leak and temperature alerts anytime, anywhere. So, there you go. No more coming home to find your house flooded. At least you'll know ahead of time it's flooded and why. So, guys, starting off with Cinemacon. Michael, since you were the one of us three, since I was still in recovery mode from WonderCon, why don't you tell us about what was happening at Cinemacon and break down the big stuff leading up to the footage that you screened?
Yeah, so as most people are aware, Cinemacon is a real big event for theater owners and exhibitors and concessionaires to all get together, and it's where the big motion picture production companies show off what's coming in 2019, what the plan is for 2020, and also they kind of bring the stars out to kind of reaffirm their belief that the best place to see movies is the cinema. So you'll get a lot of comments about Netflix and streaming, about how the only way to really enjoy a movie is to go to the cinema and see it, and that all the big production companies are there to kind of reaffirm that faith, so that the cinema owners know that the different production companies are behind them as far as releases are concerned. So we had a lot of the big production companies this year. Disney and Fox had a combined show, which we kind of talked about that they probably would. Universal was there. STX Films was there. Paramount, who always does the best presentation, in my opinion, doubled down this year again with another fantastic presentation. So again, one of the main studios that was absent this year, which we talked about before, was Sony. There was some Sony equipment there, obviously, theater production equipment, cameras, that sort of thing. But from the film studio perspective, they didn't have a presence there, which is kind of interesting, given the fact that they are a major player in Cinemacon. Kind of goes along with their theme this year of not attending E3 and some other odd things that Sony is kind of choosing to stay out of. So, but again, it was a good show, a good amount of folks that were there. Some of the key announcements. I mean, obviously, there's so many I couldn't even begin to go over it all during this podcast. Some of the key announcements, which we'll go into a little bit more detail, is Terminator Dark Fate. Got to see the beginning of that movie. Got to get a little bit more details on that, which I'll go over. Disney brought added footage of Aladdin. They did the whole Will Smith singing "Never Had a Friend Like Me." For those who are familiar with the cartoon, when it happens within the Cave of Wonders. So kind of his take on that song. We got to see that scene. Lion King, we got to see another full 3 or 4 minute clip from that movie that's coming out. One of the key things we got to see from the Disney presentation, though, is the first 17 minutes of Toy Story 4. unedited, and it's an entirety. So everything from the beginning. I don't want to spoil the movie too much, but what I can tell you is during that first 17 minutes, it's obviously a recap of, where the toys have been and where they are. It kind of goes over the origin of the new character Forky, which I know folks have seen previews of. He's essentially a spork that's come to life. So we're going to get that origin story within that first 17 minutes. And we also get to see where Woody says goodbye to Bo Peep, who's been kind of his romantic interest throughout the first 3 films in the Toy Story universe. So that kind of sets us up for, Woody's take on what it means to be a toy, the loss he feels at Bo Peep going away, and then kind of leads into where the story is going to go from there. So again, it was brief, but a good 17 minutes to kind of get a feel for what the movie is going to be like. And just like the other Toy Story films in the franchise, I think it's safe to say that it's going to be outstanding. Again, it's Disney didn't bring any stars to the theater. They typically don't. In the past couple of years we've been there, they kind of lead off more with the stuff they've got coming out, but they don't actually bring any of the stars to the stage and screen. Universal had a pretty good showing. We got to see Hobbs and Shaw footage, and of course Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham were out on stage to introduce the footage. Cats, the musical, is being released by Universal. Jennifer Hudson came out and did Memory live for us on that. Secret Life of Pets 2 had Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish on stage. Kevin Hart had a rabbit with him, a live rabbit, which tended to claw him up a bit. It kind of kept trying to climb up onto his shoulder, and he made some comments about how he was bleeding under his shirt by the time this was all said and done. But Tiffany Haddish had a Shih Tzu, so it pretty much just sat there the entire time. Dennis Quaid came out for A Dog's Journey. One of the more interesting films that they announced, which I think is coming out in June, which we've kind of discussed before, is the film Yesterday. It's about a singer, a guy in the UK who is trying to break through in the music industry. There's a worldwide power surge, and when the power comes on, he's the only person that knows anything about the Beatles. Mm-hmm. So there's no reference to the Beatles online. Nobody knows about the Beatles. So he goes and re-performs all the Beatles songs, and he becomes this instant star, right? Because now he's doing the entire Beatles portfolio. It features Himesh Patel, who actually does all the singing in the show himself, and he did a live presentation of Yesterday on stage. So again, those are some of the interesting stuff that the different production companies brought. STX was out. They featured Ugly Dolls, and there was a live performance by Kelly Clarkson, which we were allowed to tape. In fact, the STX film folks actually encouraged folks to break out their cameras and record it. Oh, nice. So we did get a short amount of that on Facebook and on Instagram. Unfortunately, record rights kind of put a ban on some of the stuff that was out there. But she did do a live presentation, and Kelly Clarkson really wowed the stage with that presentation as well. So that kind of brings us back to, I think what we want to talk about here is what we saw from Terminator Dark Fate at the Paramount thing. Oh, before we get there, Paramount did announce a new G.I. Joe film that is shooting currently and will be coming out, I think, in 2020.
Snake Eyes, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe so. They didn't say they didn't give the tagline, but they showed some of that. Coming to America 2, we do have Eddie Murphy and
Arsenio Hall.
Arsenio Hall, thank you. Back on board for the filming of that movie. So those two we saw really brief clips of, and that we can expect to see also in 2020. So again, Paramount really brought out the force of what's coming, where we're at, and what we're seeing, which kind of takes us to the Terminator Dark Fate. Again, the whole cast was there. Linda Hamilton is reprising her role as Sarah Connor. Arnold Schwarzenegger was there. They didn't put him on the billing or on the presentation or the award until after he showed on stage. So it was a big surprise that Arnold was there, and he pretty much commanded the stage as you would expect that he would. Mackenzie Davis, we get to see a first look at what character she portrays. We know the character's name is Grace, but what we see from the video is it looks like she's either a Terminator herself or she's an augmented human of some sort. It's not clear. We know that she's got similar powers that the Terminators have. We know she portrays a good character, but they won't they weren't allowed to say exactly what she was. So again, we can assume based on the optics and assume based on her strength. They show her falling off a bridge and she gets up and she's fine. That she's some sort of mechanized human. They just don't clarify that whether she's another form of Terminator or something else. And then we got to see Natalie Reyes, the character she portrays, and of course Gabriel Luna, who's reprising the role of a Terminator. And in this particular Terminator guise, he can actually split into multiple Terminators and go after him with multiple Terminators. So again, it allows them to double up on the hunt, I guess, as you want to put it. So again, what we saw is it takes place in Mexico City. It is the actual successor to Terminator 2. So it does. We ignore Terminator 3, Genesis, all the movies that have come after Terminator 2, and this is a direct sequel to Terminator 2. Obviously, James Cameron not only did the writing of it and worked with the screenplay writer and did the production, but they said he was hands-on pretty much the entire time. So we can expect that it will be living up to the standards that James Cameron tends to bring when he brings these types of movies out. So even with all the work he's been doing on Avatar and all the work he was doing with Alita and the other projects he has going in the works, he had a lot of hands-on in Dark Fate as well. So we can expect that to be a pretty significant piece to this. Linda Hamilton said that it was because of the script itself that brought her back to filming this particular series. Arnold also said that it's going to be amazing and one of the best Terminator films to come out of the franchise. So again, I think it's going to be something that we're definitely going to get to enjoy and really get a good look at when it comes out in theaters.
Well, that's good. I definitely am excited about that. Now, Justin, we wanted to get your take on part of this. Michael had mentioned the Fox franchises, and Disney had made a comment about that. So why don't you build off that and tell me, what you reported that was heard there. Michael can do a follow-up if needed, and then talk about what you think this is going to mean for some of the bigger franchises, specifically the Alien franchise.
Yeah, so evidently Disney / Fox showed a sizzle reel with pretty much all of Fox's franchises, and basically just with a message saying that they're committed to these franchises. Nothing concrete has been announced, obviously, with regards to Aliens. I've been following for a little while, last couple weeks. I guess some new rumors have surfaced about Ridley Scott maybe still trying to lobby for a sequel to Covenant, that maybe he's working on some sort of script, but nothing official or concrete has been announced there. No, we've heard rumors in the past of some sort of live action series, but again, nothing concrete has been announced. It is good that they are saying that they're committed to the franchises, and I think we've talked about in the past that this totally makes sense. They're franchises that have a lot of potential. I mean, obviously, have made tons of money in the past. It would be very foolish to not address these franchises or sell them. My guess is that we're probably not going to see anything announced for a while. My guess is that everything that was currently in production at Fox will probably continue to be in production at Fox until Disney kind of evaluates all of these franchises going forward, and that could probably take a year, maybe 2 years. I'm not 100% certain, but one thing I was reading that is somewhat troubling is supposedly there's some rumors going on that Disney / Fox has chosen to not renew the license to Alien versus Predator, as opposed to Alien and Predator as separate franchises. This is something that I was a little concerned with the merger going on, because technically speaking, it can be kind of complicated when you look at the way the rights of franchises work. But just an example of this, one major reason why we don't see any standalone Hulk movies is that the rights of Hulk by himself is separate from the rights of Hulk appearing in the Avengers, because those are, as far as legal representation works, as far as a franchise is concerned, those are two separate characters. And so one of my concerns with this merger was that Alien, Predator, and Alien versus Predator are all can be considered separate franchises, and Disney could very well decide to renew one, two, or none of them. Whatever they basically decide to do, the rights of Alien versus Predator could revert to Dark Horse or somebody else, making things complicated going forward in the future with some of these titles. So we'll have to kind of wait and see. Again, that's not concrete. That's also a rumor. This is more related to a miniature game that that's based on Alien vs. Predator that has been discontinued as of this month, and that company is claiming that it's because of the rights of that franchise has not been renewed. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see. We do have the Alien shorts coming out, and those are very exciting. I think we might be talking about that a little bit later, but we'll just have to wait and see if Fox decides to greenlight an Alien project going forward.
Yeah, it's funny because I wonder what the next move is, like you guys have said. We know they're committed to the franchise, so that's good. Now, let's look at the timelines that we have coming up. We have San Diego Comic-Con in July. Now, sometimes they're there in a big way, sometimes they're not. You also have the D23 Expo this year in August, and there's been, we're kind of sitting here going, so is Disney just going to talk their traditional stuff, which is all things Disney as well as Marvel and Star Wars, or are they going to start bringing Fox products into the fold? And that's interesting because, usually when they do their upcoming films, it's a look at the movies in the next 2 years, and they go by departments. This is Pixar, this is Disney, this is Star Wars or Lucasfilm, this is Marvel. So now are they going to come out and say, this is Fox? Or are they simply going to let it be and just kind of, hey, we own it, we run it, but we're not bringing it into... Because my thought is if you're going to do that, then you're going to have to add probably another 40 minutes to the presentation as it is. And so it'll be interesting to see. But I think the facts are that we're going to see a lot of new stuff in the not too distant future. It's just a matter of when and if. And I think, we're getting close to the time with Avengers Endgame coming out, and you hear all these stories like the guy that paid $15,000 for opening day tickets when it's like, I sit there and I go,
I'll sell mine for that.
Yeah. It's like, how stupid do you have to be? I mean, seriously, you could, if you want to see it so bad, spend a couple $100, go to a small town that's not going to have that kind of rush and go watch the movie there. You could get a flight or drive to it, whatever you need to do, boom, done. Go off and see it, and you're out maybe $100, $200. And truthfully, I'm sure you can still get opening day tickets somewhere. You just have to, but I think these are people that are all trying to get the very first show and so on and so forth, and it's just crazy. The point is, we know that we've heard stories that New Mutants is apparently leaning more toward a theatrical release. We know that there have been rumors that Vin Diesel has kind of hinted that he might be appearing in the new Avatar films. And then, of course, you've got all this traction as to, okay, when are we going to hear about what Marvel has planned? And by that same token, I figure, and this will lead into our next topic, we have Star Wars Celebration coming up next week. We do have a staff member who will be on hand, and first time out covering assignments, but, he's definitely got a background, and he's been dressing up as Darth Vader and going to many local area events and cons for years, so we're really anxious to see how he handles his time there in Chicago. We know we're going to get some episode 9 news. We probably some footage, hopefully the title. We know we're going to get a look at The Mandalorian. We know we're going to get a look at the new video game. And of course, there's all the rumors that people are hoping that we'll get a look at the Clone War episodes that are coming. We'll get new words on the Disney streaming service. Maybe get some news on the other rumored Star Wars live action. But then again, are we going to find out what the plan is to follow episode 9? So, Justin, we'll start with you. Beyond what they've already announced, what would you like them to announce, and do you think they'll do it?
So I mean, I think the lineup that you highlighted would be absolutely just excellent. And that would satisfy just about any Star Wars fan, I would think. Seeing some footage from Episode 9, getting a maybe a first teaser and a title like that alone would probably seal the deal and grab headlines for the entire week, if not more. But we do know that we are going to get some footage of the game that we've talked about in the past.
Fallen Jedi.
Yes. And like in the past, I really hope that this game sort of follows in the maybe not necessarily.
Fallen Order.
Yes, Fallen Order. Yeah. I really hope this game follows in the footsteps at least, and maybe as like a spiritual successor to the Dark Forces series. We've kind of talked about that in the past. If not like a full blown, if it was an actual game, if it was a game that actually featured Kyle Katarn again, I would be absolutely ecstatic. Beyond that, I am very curious about the Mandalorian. And it's very early to expect any details on Rian Johnson's new series, but I'm also very curious about that. Because supposedly that's going to take things in a completely new direction. Not necessarily a full-blown sequel to anything that we have seen so far. So I'm very curious about that. But supposedly, at least according to headlines today, he won't even start working on that until his current project is done. And, that's a non-Star Wars related project. So, maybe we get some small tidbits of detail there, but I'm not really expecting that. But it's going to be exciting nonetheless. So we'll just have to see what's entail.
All right, and Michael, what do you think?
Yeah, a couple of points to that. One of the first things, actually, the very first thing Disney representatives said on stage while we were at the presentation was, first of all, let's tell you that we have no Episode 9 footage to show you guys today. And of course, huge groans throughout the audience. I think most of the folks at Cinemacon were expecting to be surprised by some Star Wars footage. Guess I'm not too surprised knowing that we got Star Wars Celebration coming up and we got D23 coming up. So I would like to think that they are holding off and that Star Wars Celebration is going to be our first taste of that, whether that be maybe just a title. I don't know if we'll get a full-blown trailer there or not. Maybe they're going to hold on to that for D23. We know that Disney likes to kind of hold these things close to their chest. They don't want to release too much of a trailer that's going to spoil much of the movie. So they're going to be really careful about when they release that. So I would like to see something about the new Star Wars movie coming out. Again, even if it's just a title, I'm okay with that. Obviously, to kind of, echo on what Justin wants to see, obviously the new some footage from the game, we're expected to see some of that. I'd love to see Kyle Katarn return myself. I think it would be something amazing to the franchise to make him part of the canon again. Again, maybe that's just me personally because I had so much exposure with him from the video games. I have his action figure. There was a lot, Kyle Katarn was one of the first, I think, major characters to come out of a video game that kind of went into the franchises of the Star Wars universe. So again, I would love to see that as a character introduced. But again, anything from the footage from the video game, I'm excited to see. Obviously, I'd like to see what kind of lineup for D23 in particular, what kind of lineup we're going to see from the streaming service. But for Star Wars Celebration in particular, some footage of The Mandalorian obviously is something we're seeing. Kind of to echo what we were talking about regarding Rian Johnson, we did get to see his Knives Out trailer, which is what he's been working on. It's a horror movie that's coming out again, I think this year. So it's a pretty big diversion from the Star Wars universe. So I don't know if we'll get any additional information on what he might be looking to work on, and if that's still in the works. So again, I think there's a lot of opportunity for Disney to show a lot of Star Wars things to us at the celebration. What they actually choose to show us and what we actually get to see there, I'll be interested to see. I'm excited for it. Hopefully we'll get more Star Wars information than we got at Cinemacon, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it's just one of those many things. There's so much going on, and they can never make everyone happy with anything, because they could drop the new trailer, they could show all of this stuff, and then there'll be someone saying, oh, well, they didn't tell us what the next movie was, and they didn't tell us about this. And, that's just one of those things. There's only so much time that you could give into it. But I think the great thing is by this time next week, we'll have a much bigger idea of what episode 9 is going to be like. We're also going to have a better idea of what the streaming service show The Mandalorian will look like, and hopefully some of their other future plans. So wrapping it up this week, I just wanted to briefly mention Call of Duty is Black Ops 4 has got the new Ancient Evil DLC out. If you have the DLC for it, you can download and update this. This is a brand new episode in the zombie gameplay mode, and it's set in like the ancient Greek area. So one of the things that you get to do is you can run around, you can battle around statues, you can fight the zombies, and of course there's altars and there's statues, and of course I even got Pegasus to come down. We have video of this on my YouTube channel and on the website, and it was great because once we got on Pegasus, it flew us around and took us into an area like Hades, and we were doing really great until we got there and we got beaten down really fast. I also wanted to mention that they are bringing out the Alcatraz map soon for PC for blackout mode. Now this is going to be very interesting because they're calling it a close quarters battle royale, like Firestorm on the for Battlefield 5, like Apex Legends, like of course all the other ones that are out there, and like the traditional blackouts. You have a very large open field map. They've decided that Alcatraz will be set on its namesake island, and it will be just that, close quarters. I keep thinking about the opening part of the Hunger Games where they always tell them don't run to the cornucopia, and those that do, it's a bloodbath, and the ones that run actually last a bit longer. So we'll see how that all plays out. Well, guys, I think we covered a lot of stuff this week, and we should be good and back next week. And of course, obviously, it looks like Star Wars Celebration is going to top our coverage next week. So until then, everybody, take care, and we will talk to you later.